Hi church, Pastor John here. This past week in our sermon text, we worked through Genesis 34. In Genesis 34, one of the daughters of Jacob, Dinah, is taken by a man in the land, Shechem, and she is raped. She is sexually assaulted. Now, we didn't spend much time there because the main point of the text is the vengeance that her brothers take, the atrocities that they commit in the name of vengeance. And so the main point of the text was that we leave vengeance to God. He is the one who will do perfect justice. We don't take vengeance into our own hands. In fact, we're called to love our enemies. But that leaves some questions, okay? So if something like this has happened to you, sexual assault has happened, rape has happened, how should you respond? We're called not to take vengeance. We're called to love our enemies. What does that mean when you have been so deeply wounded, sinned against, and violated? So just wanted to add a few qualifiers for those who have been through this, for those who are wanting to help those who have been through this. And this is the first thing that I would add, is that it is right to want justice. And you hear the word, vengeance is mine, declares the Lord, that we don't take justice into our own hands. That doesn't mean that we should not want justice. We should want justice when we have been sinned against. We should want it. We should just want it done perfectly. We should leave it to the Lord for Him to perform justice. But you should know that feeling like you've been wronged and feeling like justice needs to be done is right. It's right. It belongs to the Lord and He will do right. Here's the second thing to add. Loving your enemy doesn't mean trusting them. Loving your enemy does not mean trusting them. Sometimes we think, well, if I got to love them, that means I need to stay close and keep being, everything I was before to this person. That's not true. Sometimes the most loving thing to do for someone is not to trust them anymore, and to make sure that other people don't trust them as well. And that leads to the third point. If something like this has happened to you, or you know someone it's happened to, pursue protection for yourself, for that person, and for other vulnerable people. Being defensive is not the same as taking vengeance into your own hands. Protecting yourself, protecting other vulnerable people is godly. It's a godly thing to do. That's not the same as taking vengeance into your own hands. Now, depending on what country you come from, pursuing this with the legal authorities might be the best way to protect yourself, protect other vulnerable people from the consequences of this person's actions, to protect them from this person. Justice should be done by the government authorities where it can be. Now, in some countries, bringing a crime like this before the police can often get you in trouble, which is why it is good to get godly, wise counsel from someone before you do. Which leads to our fourth point. Talk to a trusted spiritual friend. Talk to someone who's godly and who's wise. Talk to an older Christian. Come talk to a pastor if this has happened to you. You know someone this has happened to. It's really important to talk to other members of the body about this. There can be fear of having to live through the experience again that keeps you from talking to someone else. A sense of shame. You feel defiled and you don't want people to know. But the way to healing comes through being in the presence of God, receiving all His healing for you. And often, more often than not, that comes through His body, through members. That's how He has designed for us to love one another. So don't let the shame keep you from talking to another person. It would be good to say a word about shame. If you've been violated in such a heinous, wrong way, if someone has assaulted you, abused you, if you've been raped, there comes with it a tremendous feeling of, I've not just been sinned against, I have been defiled. I can't let other people know about this. I can't even approach God because of this defilement. The one thing that can keep you from God, the one thing, is your own unforgiven sin. Your own unforgiven sin. That's the only thing that can keep you from God. You are responsible for your sin, and other people are responsible for their sin. You can't make someone else sin against you. So if someone has sinned against you in a way like this, they are responsible for it to God. You are not guilty for what someone else has done to you, how they have sinned against you. Know that. Know that. And come to God, the place where healing can be found. It's found in Him. What Jesus was doing on the cross when He was dying for the sins of the world, He was purchasing for His people the resources we would need for anything, including our deepest needs for healing in ways that we have been wounded. He is where healing can be found. So don't let the sense of shame keep you from coming to Him, to His presence, where healing and life can be found. When Jesus was going to the cross, the scripture tells us that shame was being heaped upon Him. It was being heaped upon Him by leaders, heaped upon Him by the people of Judea, heaped upon Him by the devil. And the shame was saying this to Jesus. It was saying, Jesus, this isn't worth it. This isn't worth it. Don't go through with the cross. Don't keep approaching God. Don't do it. And Hebrews 12 tells us that Jesus despised the shame. What that means is all the shame that was being heaped on Him, telling Him He was defiled and that He couldn't approach God and He shouldn't go through with this. Jesus despised it. He despised it, and He kept going towards what His Father had called Him to do. Don't let the shame keep you from approaching your Father where healing is found. And hear this. This is from Romans 10:11. This is a promise. Romans 10:11, Scripture says, everyone who believes in Him will not be put to shame. Everyone who believes in Him will not be put to shame. If you approach Him in trust, He will not put you to shame. He will give you life and healing and grace and His goodness. He will give you more of Himself. So come to Him. Come to Him. God bless you, church.